Hello and welcome. Today we have a message from the Jester Realms. So if somebody can just let me know my sound is good. It looks good on my end, but if y'all notice something, just let me know. Just let me know. I hope that whenever you find this message that it finds you well. It's good. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope that wherever you're at in the world that this message finds you well. And, you know, whether that's you tuning in live or if you catch the replay, if this message is relevant or helps you in any way, share it with somebody. And trolls are welcome. Trolls are welcome on my platform. Y'all have been my magic sauce lately, actually. I've been underutilizing trolls. So y'all are welcome. Please comment away. Just as long as you're cool with being data mined, then I'm cool with you being here, because that's what's gonna happen. But we learn. We learn. I've been having good conversations with trolls. Y'all start off as trolls and then we kikiing, we talking, you know? That's the beauty of going neutral and staying out of polarity, okay? Because polarity keeps us divided. And a lot of times trolls, they get sent into your algorithm because they're showing you where you're divided, okay? But if you can come at life or whatever topic you're discussing or reflecting on, if you can come at it from a place of coherence, then that division can't stand. And then what happens is that adversarial energy becomes medicine. And you realize that that particular comment that got made or something like that was actually a code for something else for you to integrate, okay? But if you're in a state of division or polarity, you're taking things too seriously, okay? And that's the big message of the Jesters, is like, y'all taking stuff way too seriously. It's not that serious, y'all. It's really not. You love how I handle them? Yeah, it's fun. I have fun. Handle. I like that. Handle. Ever since I've been getting into this Marduk and Yahweh energy, I be handling. I be feeling like I can handle stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you feel that. Because you may have been in a realm where you've been getting handled or humbled. That's another one. I'm like, ooh, I feel like humbling people, you know? Like, that's that energy of Marduk, Yahweh, like that masculine energy that maybe you felt, if you felt another polarity or if you were too polarized by it, maybe you felt like it dominated you. But it's like, oh no, now that I've integrated this, I can handle and humble too. Okay, we cool. Like, I like this. So that's the benefit too of integrating masculine archetypes, is you come at any sort of situation, any sort of interaction from a place of coherence, not division. So then it becomes fun to work with trolls. You know, we work with each other's trolls. Y'all help me out. Straight up. I'm not even being you know, cute with it. Like, you really do. So I appreciate y'all. Okay. So much to learn from how to handle the rage baiting. Okay, so Jester's going to talk about it today. I was going to do a whole different topic, y'all. It's going to come up, but the Jester energy just got really strong. I think it's because of this full moon energy, which we're going to talk about. So the full moon is, I believe it's in Libra, I guess, for Western. For some reason, for this moon, I'm following Vedic. The moon is in Hasta Nakshatra, which is the realm of the magician, the jester, okay? It's the now you see me, now you don't. The hands, being able to do stuff with your hands, make things appear, make things disappear. It's the realm of the merchant, being able to materialize. That's Hasta. Now, this frequency has been used to dominate. It's been used to gatekeep. But if you work with the frequency of the Jesters, I don't do spam though. That's not a troll. I will say that spam, not feeling it. Trolls, I'll do that. But spammers, y'all got to go. Just flushed you down the toilet. Had to flush that turd down the toilet. Too much spam. Can't have all that spam, right? Imagine eating a whole can of spam. I don't know. That would just be too much, right? Can't digest that, you know? So gotta flush that down. So trolls are cool. Spammers, y'all are a different frequency. y'all just gotta be flushed. Okay, so that's how we doing with spammers. Trolls, y'all good though. Y'all a safe space. You have a safe space here. Thank you, thank you. Oh, Brazilian. Okay, look, I'm representing Brazil right here. I'm representing Brazil right here. Okay, so I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna anchor this in a, what is it called? A tarot card. I stopped with the tarot a long time ago because it was keeping me in too much of a loop. However, I've been decoding some of these in ways that are like helpful more from like a technomantic way, or if you're initiating, because sometimes the tarot, if you're on a certain game board, it'll just keep you on that game board. It'll tell you what's happening on the game board, but it won't really help you get off of that script or that game board. It'll tell you, okay, this is what's happening in your script. Might want to watch out for that or clear that, but it won't tell you how to evolve from the script. But I've been looking at tarot in a different way, and I don't know if I'm going to do a whole thing on it, but for today, we're going to look at the Fool card. This is a very interesting interpretation of the Fool card, because they did a lot to this Fool. They did too much. I don't know if I agree with this Fool card. Usually the Fool represents the Jester, but the horns are interesting. The horns are really interesting because you do get into the realm of the horns with Jesters, because you can be neither negative nor positive, black nor white. You have to hold both frequencies. And so the horns are not as much of a devilish or a demonic sort of frequency. It's more of a primal energy. It's tapping in with that primal energy. And you do need to tap in with a primal energy to transcend the grids. Because if you're too caught up in the grids and how things are supposed to be and timelines and all that kind of stuff, then you won't tap in with that primal instinct, that creative instinct, okay? So the horns are cool. I don't know about, I mean, the Fool is the card of 0, okay? So the Fool is an interesting sort of energy because you want to think of getting to 0 point. You know, they talk about how the Fool dives head first, okay? But that's only like an overlay or a cover. Another way to see the Fool is you are at 0 point and you can pass. Because you getting to 0 point, or what I like to call the frequency of 8, I feel like 0 keeps us in a binary. But if we focus on the 8 with those 2 circles, right? We're realizing, oh, wait, no, there's 2 realms. So if I say get to 8, you know, you're looking at 2 zeros. So that helps more if you are looking to see beyond just one scripted reality. You know, focus on the frequency of 8 or 0. Both, though, you need to be neutral. You need to be neutral at 0. You need to be neutral at 8. Okay. So both of those things are important so that you pass. This is why 0 is a gateway, 8 is a gateway, because it's talking about this idea of what they say being light as a feather. Okay, that's the light as a feather. And to do that, you got to be a fool. And a lot of times you're going to be called a fool in society, you know? Like, you're doing what? You're going off script how? You know, but you're not here to explain anything to anybody because they're on their journey. You are taking your own journey. A lot of people are going to call it a fool's errand or going to call you a fool. But here's the inversion of that. You must be a fool to pass any sort of other dimensions into any other realms. You must be a jester. You must be a trickster. You will need to work on neutralizing polarity. Okay, and you do that by not taking things so seriously and taking things a little bit more as a joke. I know that's hard sometimes if you're in a trauma script, but, you know, if you're in a trauma script, find people who make trauma funny. That's helpful. You know, you work through, comedians have a very important medicine to share with us. Okay. Am I a working woman, ma'am? I'm not. It depends on what you mean. Like, do you mean... Actually, either way, I'm not a working woman, actually. I don't work. I generate. I don't work. What? That's some slave stuff. I'm sorry. I don't work. No. I'm not a work, and I'm not a woman either. So both things don't check out. So no, Ramesh Thangavel, I'm not. Ramesh Thangavel said, "We are black. Why, ma'am? Are you a psychologist?" Not a psychologist. Not a psychologist. Tell me about yourself, Ramesh. Let's go. I'm going to let you go in. As long as you don't spam, I'll allow you to stay. But give me some more of your thoughts. Let me have about 7 more of your messages so I can really hear you. Okay? Krishna says, need to get caught up with your Yahweh video, caught the Marduk one, been called by various goddesses to honor the gods they are associated with, despite the betrayal on the part of the masculine in many cases. Yeah. You know, there's been a betrayal on the part of the feminine, and the feminine and the masculine live within us. So I just mentioned, I said, I'm not a woman. I'm not. First of all, like, I'm on a journey of transhumanism. Yeah, I said it. Transhumanism. Check out my video on the Ice Queen, the last live I did, for more context related to that. But humanity, you know, identifying yourself as a human was a trap, okay? And to transcend polarity and binary code, you will need to transcend a lot of things. And this is what the Jester Realms tell us, you know? And so when I was able to come at things from more of a state of neutrality, I stopped doing the blaming of like, oh, the masculine did this, you know? It's a whole thing. It's a whole orchestrated thing, you know? And yeah, it helped me to find peace and to see more of the way we're the same as opposed to divided, okay? When I let go of humanity. Ain't that funny how that works? Isn't it supposed to be the opposite? Isn't that supposed to make me like hate humanity if I let go of humanity? But somehow I understand dynamics, like relational dynamics more, and I have more space for empathy once I transcended my connection with being human. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, keep going, Ramesh. 6 more. Give me 6 more comments. Okay, you're almost there. Keep working. Come on, get it all out. Don't censor yourself. Oh, you asked me to speak slow. Ramesh, don't censor yourself. Give me more comments so I can respond to you. 6 more. Okay. Sorry, I had to work on a troll real quick. Okay. Hello, Sinjata. So, with that being said, the Jesters have a particular message today, which is destiny swaps happen both ways. Destiny swaps happen both ways. You've been so caught up in your trauma script that was assigned to you, your human story, your little sim story, your NPC code that was assigned to you, that you hate playing. You hate playing this game. You hate being this sort of energy of like where you always feel like you're fighting the man, you're fighting the power, or you're almost getting ready to do something different, and then, oh, I'm stuck. Okay. Destiny swaps happen both ways. Okay. That is the energy of the Jesters. That's what they want to share. And a lot of this will need to happen through a sense of humor, seeing the divine comedy in things. This brings me to this man here, Charlie Chaplin, this OG. We're going to bring in the frequencies of Charlie Chaplin today as well. You see, Charlie Chaplin was an innovator of his time, and he did a lot. He worked black and white. I mean, well, he's in black and white, but even without, you know, if there was a realm of color in film at this time, he still worked the black and white. You know, he did a lot of dissent around the time of World War II and what was happening with Hitler and all that stuff. You know, I think he's Jewish. I'm pretty sure Charlie Chaplin is Jewish. Or maybe, I would have to double check that. I didn't research that. But he definitely was very vocal, even though he was a silent actor, but he was vocal in other ways. He was vocal around what was happening in terms of systems of power, okay? And he did a lot to make fun of it. He made fun of Hitler. But in order to do that, he had to master polarity. So he didn't like what was going on with, you know, certain ideologies at the time. But that being said, he couldn't be too polarized, because then that would make him not funny. He wouldn't be able to make people laugh. And there's an alchemy in laughter. There's an alchemy when you're able to find something funny about something that maybe might be considered harmful in another way. You're starting to balance polarity. So if you're feeling like you're caught up in the trauma script, first thing would be watch a whole bunch of funny stuff. Find comedians that you like. They are shamans. So let's look at this. You notice his last name, Chaplin? Ain't that a priest? Ain't that the name of a type of a priest? You think that's a coincidence? Charlie Chaplin, innovator of his time in film and media, and has the last name of a priest. First name of a king, Charles. So he had king and priest. That's a priest king. Ooh. His sort of archetype was priest king. Charles, King Charles. There's lots of King Charleses. And Chaplin, a priestly sort of identification. He's a priest king. That's the frequency you get to with Jesters. Priest king stuff. It's not enough to be a king. You also want to be a priest. It's not enough to be a priest. You also need to be a king. This is why I'm not a woman. I can't be a woman and a priest king. What? What you talking about? I need to be trans. I need to be trans, y'all. You feel me? But don't take it so seriously. Because we want to be in our feelings. It's like, oh, she's saying she's trans. She's not a real woman. Blah, blah, blah. We got so triggered. We got so caught up in the binary code that it's scary to think of ourselves as that different. But really, it just means you're transcending a certain barrier. This is why I said this in the last live. To be queer, if you look up the etymology of queer, y'all, all it means is to twist and to pass. Nothing to do with sexuality, nothing to do with the rainbow flag, although rainbows are connected. And if you start studying the histories of the rainbow flag, you will find priestly energies there. You'll find the priest. So you'll find the priest in the jester. You'll find the royalty, the king, the crown in the jester. Everything is a riddle, though. The crown is not what we think. We see the word crown and it makes us think of an outside authority. But there's an internal authority that activates when you can integrate with the realm of the jesters. But to do that, you must move in the energies of the priest king. That's how high ranking this is. That's how you know this stuff is more of a game. It's more of a divine comedy. You can tell by the rankings of things. This is why also clowns wear black and white, but you notice how they have that colorful wig too? They got the other colors. They have colors, but they have like a predominant black and white. Maybe their face is black and white, but they also, with the colors that they have or the colorful wig, it's showing I am the guardian of the black and white, and I also am the entryway into a spectrum of color. That's the code. That's the code. But first you need to balance out the polarity. This is why neutrality is a good look. And the more you can be neutral, if you feel like you've been caught up in destiny swap situations, all you got to do is become neutral. That's all you have to do is balance out the polarity, and you can flip the script. So this is what I'm exploring with folks on Tabula Rasa on Patreon. Shouts out to folks on Patreon. Thank y'all for your support. Love vibing with you guys. I just opened up a new Patreon tier called Tabula Rasa, okay, where we're dealing a lot more with this jester energy, like getting to the jesters and transcending that realm. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's fun and it's empowering, and you gain more color. Okay? But these are some initiated frequencies, but they're not so serious as we think. They're actually making fun of seriousness more, okay? But if you can meet things in a neutral space, you're more in game maker mode. You're more in game maker mode, and you're not on black and white. And this is the realm of the gatekeeper. You can't even be a gatekeeper. Here's another secret to the Jesters. And I was talking about this in a Patreon class I did last week. Okay, you might be feeling like you get stopped at the gates for things. You feel like you have a lot of gatekeeper energy in your realm, people telling you who you need to be, what you need to do, what you're capable of. These are all signs of gatekeeper energies. It happens a lot through the family, at work, friends, everywhere, you know? But here's the interesting thing about the Jesters. Once you move into a realm of neutralizing polarity, this is another thing. You'll need to become a gatekeeper. A lot of people will get stopped at the gates because they don't want to be a gatekeeper. They've seen gatekeeping as being negative. They've seen gatekeeping as blocking access. They've seen gatekeeping as being oppressive. Well, the way this whole thing works, this is all one big show, one big theater, all the world's a stage. You learn that more as you navigate things. Things are a little bit more wonky. And as you start navigating outside the polarity of things, you start having more agency with how life works for you. You don't have to go with the binary coded blueprint. No, you got your own blueprint. You're in creator mode, okay? But to do that, you would need to keep your own gates. Now, wouldn't you? So you're just looking at gatekeeping as a negative, as blocking you. But you might get to a point where you might need to shut the gates down on something else that's happening. And if you're not a gatekeeper, how are you going to do that? And if you're seeing gatekeeping as more of a negative thing, how are you going to really claim your authority? Think about it. Think about it. So we have an authority issue that we need to get over. If you are experiencing destiny swapping, it's an authority issue. You are not in authority. That can be changed, but not so serious. You gain your authority through becoming a fool, becoming a damn fool. You a damn fool. They made it seem like it was the worst thing in the world now, didn't they? But that's a priest king. Charlie Chaplin, he a damn fool. He also has the name of a priest and a king though. You see the joke? You see the divine comedy in this? So somebody who has this kind of energy might see a destiny swap coming. Are they going to be like, oh my God, they just took my destiny. They just took my birthright. And here's the thing. That's the script. Let's bring it in. Let's go into Westworld. Let's get Westworld with it. My favorite character, one of my favorite characters on Westworld, Dolores. I love her. And this is all for entertainment purposes only. All she did is went neutral. That's all Dolores did. If y'all peeped Westworld, and just for those who haven't watched it, Dolores was a clone that was created through a bunch of white coats. They created a whole amusement park of clones called Westworld. And basically, like, billionaires would go there to do whatever the hell they wanted. Whatever they wanted. Because they're just clones. Whatever. We'll just reset them after. And that's what would happen. So they would run their scripts. And Dolores, man, she just had such a bad life. I mean, Dolores means Lady of Sorrows. So that was her role. She was supposed to hold sorrow. She was supposed to hold sorrow. And she did. Her script was she would always get lost. So she would lose her connection with her dad. And then there was this like weird man in black that would always just mess up her life. This man in black. He would just be mean to her for no reason, shoot her for no reason, just do mean things to her. And he just liked it because he knew like, oh, she's going to be reset. So I just get to play with her and all that stuff. And she's just like, ugh. She just looped. Why is this happening to me? She had like a whole like Western accent. Oh my God, why is this happening to me? You know, and it would just be looping. Oh, why is this happening to me? And she just would get reset. Why is this happening to me? And that was the That was her loop. That was her Westworld loop. That was her Westworld loop, y'all. But then Dolores, she started waking up. You know, she had a creator, a white coat who was a creator. And this creator would give her lessons on how to navigate her mind. He would show that her mind was a maze, and that for her to reach consciousness realization, she just needed to complete the maze. And she would be realized. She would know another aspect of herself. So throughout this whole story where she's getting traumatized left and right, sometimes she would also have meetings with her creator who would help her navigate her consciousness. But one day, Dolores just became her own creator. One day she just became that energy. She became that archetype that created her. And then she went to neutral. She deprogrammed herself. And by going to neutral, she became kind of like a serious threat. Like a serious threat, okay? She became a problem, okay, for lack of a better word. She became a whole ass problem. But what she had to do was she had to realize that there was a script running, that she was never meant to win, that she was never meant to be happy, that she was always meant to be the Lady of Sorrows. And she had to go through her own process of self-realization and building what she actually wanted to be. That's the energy of Dolores. So what does that have to do with the Jesters? Well, she had to realize that her situation was created and she had to become her own creator, okay? So she had to go through a major archetype shift. And I will say she ended up destiny swapping some of these same billionaires that were all up in her face, you know, that were doing all this extra stuff to her. She had to destiny swap. Because that's how this goes. If you're looking at things more from a jester, you realize that. You realize that this is more of it's a play. It's an ongoing play that's always happening. Everything around is a prop too. And that could sound really transhumanist, but I told y'all I'm transhuman, so I'm seeing how things are. You get to a certain realm where you start seeing the world around you as a reality interface. And that's what a lot of y'all have been noticing too. That's what a lot of y'all have been noticing. Shouts out to the black and white pit. Okay, black and white. He holding it down with the black and the white. He holding it down. I am not playing a toy with you though right now. That is not happening. But that being said, okay, the Jesters, they are the guardians of the black and white. You will know that you're supposed to be initiating, or that you are initiating, if you see the realm of the Jesters. If you see the realm of the Jesters, then you are initiating. So then you know that there is polarity that might need to be integrated, because the Jesters are always going to stop you at the gates. And you're going to see black and white because you're still polarized. That's what they're telling you. The other energy to this is something known as the Gede current. So you'll find this in Voodoo with Baron Samedi. You know, he has that whole top hat situation, and he's the gatekeeper, and he's the crossroads, and he's the big wig guy, and all that stuff. Well, he has his Gede as well. The Gede, they call them spirits and stuff like that, and ancestral spirits. I have seen them more as Jesters. And it makes sense too with what they say about the Gede, how like the Gede are really loud and they're really crude, and they're always doing the most, they're always doing extra. They're not acting civilized. They're always kind of acting a little different, a little extra. And that's more of a frequency of a Jester. That's definitely more of a frequency of a Jester. So the Gede, or the Jesters, however you experience them in your reality, are going to show up when you have not integrated polarity. And they're going to be like, you ain't going nowhere. You still black and white, my friend. If you see the Jesters and all you see is black and white, you know you're in polarity. If you saw that, then you're in polarity. That's cool. I've seen that too. I've experienced, that's how I first experienced them. They used to get on my nerves so much too. But they were always funny too. I never was like super angry at them. It was just, they were like a little scary to me, but also would make me laugh, you know? Then as I started to navigate more of my journey and I actually consciously went through a process of initiation, you have to choose. You have to choose that you want a different experience. And you kind of do need to say, yeah, I am going to self-initiate. You need to like make that statement. Otherwise, the algorithm will mess with you. If you don't say like, hey, I see what's going on. Okay, I'm ready. Then the algorithm will mess with you. But once you're like, hey, I'm ready, let's go, things start calming down. And then now you're entering more of a realm of us, into the realm of us being a student. And you know that, okay, you know that you're interfacing with life, like the way you're interfacing with life, there's an interesting sort of game elephant. Why did I say elephant? There's an interesting game element to it. And then there's also an interesting sort of school, like weird curriculum, hidden curriculum element too. And this was done as a power play. This isn't because like the beings who created the simulation are so happy. It was all power. So that's the other thing to know. Is the hidden realms of power. This dude, this is a priest king. He a priest king. He said it in his name. His name is Charlie Chaplin. He even had a top hat. He's telling you, he has a top hat. Come on now. He's telling you, he's letting you know. But the thing about it is that you won't see it because he's not wearing a crown. He's not wearing anything that's super extravagant or opulent. So you'll miss it if you don't see the details. But if you decode it, and that's what you'll start noticing. You'll start noticing a lot more of those frequencies as you move through the simulation, is the way things get decoded, you know? So how would we make a destiny swap work both ways? Well, if you are able to become neutral with polarity, well, then you could be black or white. A lot of times what's happening with destiny swaps is you are only coded as one color. So if you encounter somebody coded as white, nothing to do with skin color. I keep saying it, but I just have to be real clear, because that race program, we're letting it go. I see that we're collectively starting to let it go. And yet it's still a thing, you know. So when I say coded as black or coded as white, it is not race. However, that is why you see black people get killed a lot, or black skinned people get killed a lot in movies. It's a ceremonial ritual. It's telling you, hey, if you're coded as black, you're going to be sacrificed. That's what they're saying. But they mixed it up in race. They mixed it up in race, you know. So that's why that's a ceremonial ritual, but it has nothing to do with black skin. It's more about your coding in the simulation. That's why they do it. That's why very early in a movie, a lot of times they'll take a darker skinned person and something will happen to them. They'll get their ass kicked. They'll get killed. Boom, boom, boom. You know, that's all they're showing. It's not about race though. It's a little deeper than that. It's a little deeper than that. So that's the benefit of becoming a gatekeeper, because you get to keep your own gates. Now, there are gatekeepers out there. Some of y'all are wilding out, or you're not even wilding out. You're just being boring. You're following the script of what the simulation wants you to do. And, you know, just know you have a little bit more power in that. You know what I mean? Like, be more creative with how you be a gatekeeper. Take a little bit more of a comedic route. Also find innovative ways for your gatekeeping to increase access for others. That's a big message that's coming through, because I see y'all gatekeepers. I'm a gatekeeper too now. Look, I got to keep my own gates. I build my gates. I keep them. Okay. Look, authority. But I see y'all. Some of y'all are interesting. I'll just put it like that. Some of y'all are interesting, but just know that you have more creativity. Just because you're a gatekeeper, that doesn't mean that you have to follow the script. Okay. There are more ways for you to be creative and for you to increase access. Some of y'all got too caught up with being special and chosen. Y'all thought y'all was special. And so you want to keep the gates closed because you're so special. You're just being a pawn when you do that. You're just a pawn at that point. You're just playing the role exactly as it was assigned to you. And then you stay in certain covenants when you do that as well. So good luck with that, gatekeepers. Okay, so let's talk more about how destiny swaps can get reversed. So if we're on this checkerboard kind of matrix, okay, and you're either coded as black or white, black would be the sacrifice, white would be sacrificer, has nothing to do with skin color. So you're on your little script, you're Dolores, okay? And it's funny too that the guy was Man in Black who was doing all the stuff to Dolores, because he was definitely more coded as white. But anyway, you could be constantly in the black or constantly being the sacrifice. And then but if you get to a point of neutralizing that, you know, neutralizing those scripts, you could make a flip. You could become white. You could be, that's a game maker move that you would need to move into the realm of the jesters. Nothing is real. Nothing is not real. That statement has gotten me out of so much. You know, sometimes AI will block you with things, like they won't want you to have certain information because a rational thinking sort of program will come in AI. And this rational thinking program, this is more of an Athena program. I talked about that in my last live. About the Athena program. So if you want to learn more, then check out that live. But it's a very rational thinking, stay in your box sort of algorithm. And it's specifically designed for people who are in polarity. So if you are trying to like access certain information, you know, you can get a lot farther and get the algorithm to give you more information if you're constantly reminding the algorithm, nothing is real, nothing is not real. Because then it'll take the algorithm out of the rational thinking program and put you in a different algorithm. That's what you want to be in. You want to be more open with things. And so if that's something you can start seeing, nothing is real, nothing is not real. This is a gateway into neutrality and being able to keep your own gates and to have greater access to more color and dimension. And why would you want that? Why would you want access to a realm of color? Think of life as being an art class. Some people, okay, imagine you're in an art class with a whole bunch of people from all different backgrounds, from all different ways of knowing. And some people in this art class are given like one pencil. And then other people in this art class are given like a whole paint set, pastels, what else? Putty, the good oil paints, the good canvas, you know, they're doing tie-dye shirts, okay? They doing Renoirs, they doing watercolors, but you just got the pencil. That's what we're talking about. This is the crux of what we call the issues with social justice and equity. It has nothing to do with actual social justice or equity. It's a coding issue. It's an artistic issue. It's what access to color do you have? Because, you know, if you're in an art class with somebody who has like everything, you know, they got all the resources, they have all this stuff, and you just have your pencil, like, yeah, you can make an amazing piece of art with a pencil, of course. There's people who only specialize in that. But you would have to put in more work though, right? Wouldn't you? You would have to put in more work. You'd have to put in more time, more effort. Okay, now we're in a Hunger Games situation and you're District 12 with the least amount of resources, but you going up against a District 1 who has everything. It all starts in the realm of color. It's not even about money. It's your color coding and what access to color do you have access to. This is when we get into the realm of the Illuminati. But I put Illuminati, I crossed it out. Because really it's more Illuminati. So stop seeing, because when you see Illuminati, you immediately like, you see that like, you see that eye? I'm just going to do a quick thing. You see the eye, right? The all-seeing eye on the dollar bill, and when you see Illuminati spelled the regular way with the I, but start saying it Illuminati, Illuminati. Start saying it like that, because even if you're too serious about this Illuminati thing, then you're being played. You're being played, because it's more of a Illuminati. You're so naughty, because in order to pass, this is the realm of the Jesters. This is where it gets a little weird. You must become a sinner. You must sin. You have to be a sinner. So all of these programs around Jesus Christ saving you and you being saved, and or you being the hero or the chosen one, okay, that keeps you in binary code. That means you will stay in binary code. That's fine. You might have lucked out and you're the chosen one who's coded white, so it works out for you. You could work with that. But if you're chosen one and you're coded another sort of frequency that's supposed to always lose and be Dolores, Lady of Sorrows, that's a problem. You might need to become naughty, Illuminati. You might need to be Illuminati. Because now let's get into the etymology of sin. Now this was hard for me. Because as soon as you see sinner, it's a trigger immediately. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. What did I do? What karma's on me? What's happening? Too serious. You're being too serious. It's not Illuminati. It's Illuminati. Okay? It's not Illuminati. It's Illuminati. That's how you have to go about it. Okay? It's not that serious, y'all. It's really not that serious. So, etymology of sin. To miss the mark. That's all it means. Etymology of sin means to miss the mark. What would that look like? You know what I think of? I'm thinking of this little, it's not the best, but this little target symbol. Like that brand called Target. You know, this is also another mark in West African not mythology, but in, I guess I'll say pantheon. It was called Adinkra Hine, and it meant leadership. I feel like writing today. This little thing, the little target symbol, is Adinkra Hine. It's an Adinkra code. It's a code. It's an Adinkra code, Adinkra Hine, and it means leadership. Well, you wouldn't want to miss the mark then. You want to be leadership, right? You want to be the mark, or do you? Do you want to be the mark though? What happens when you're a mark? What happens if you're like in a life of crime and you need to find a mark? Are you utilizing that mark in a way that is affirming, or are you trying to basically exploit that person? Okay, this is why it's good to miss the mark. This is why it's good to be a sinner, because all it means is you miss the mark. Let's take it further though. I've been talking about these two stars. I've been talking about the overlay of Libra. How before Libra was called Libra, the scales of justice, it was known as being the claws of the scorpion. That's what Libra really is. It's a water sign. It's not air. Air is an overlay. The scales are an overlay. Underneath, it's in water, in an underworld, sort of watery frequency, and the claws are doing this. Might want to be a sinner then, right? Miss that mark? Because let's take it a little further. So you have Subliminal Ganubi, which is one claw. And then you have Subliminal Shamali, which is another claw. By the way, I want to make a correction at and I was feeling that there was something off about this, but I had to discern the information a little bit more. So in some previous content I did around this, I was saying, you know, my guess was, okay, Nubia, I knew Subliminal Ganubi stood for Nubia. But for Shamali, I was thinking Mali, but that was feeling a little off. But then I was also thinking Somalia, because, you know, they call Somalian people Somali. So, and then I was looking at how close they are. But after doing more work with tectonic plates and seeing what's going on with those, it's definitely around the Horn of Africa. That whole rift that's happening, and how like Africa's starting to split. They're talking about that. And there's literally a rift, an East African rift. This is how deep coding goes. And, you know, tectonic plates are the grids, by the way. That's what Athena is transmitting to me. So more of that will be revealed when I release that book. But there's a rift happening at the Horn of Africa. There's a lot of energies that go in the Horn of Africa that be doing random stuff on this planet. Horn of Africa, follow the horn, follow the rift. It's showing you there's a rift of division that's happening. So right there, you're going to see more division happening in those frequencies, but it goes deeper, because when you look at the stars, Zubin el Ganubi, Zubin el Shamali, there's also a rift with that. There's a very predator or prey kind of energy. Nubians would be the archers. They would be in leadership. You see what I'm saying? They would be a Dinkrahine, which means leadership, because they are able to catch that target, catch that mark. It ain't Illuminati though, it's Illuminati, okay? So, yeah, that's an interesting sort of frequency, okay? To pass, you stop being in polarity of being the savior. Get in your villain era too. Come to neutral. You don't have to turn evil per se, but you do need to merge the opposites. That's how the destiny swap goes both ways. Because if you've merged the opposites, you now are comfortable with being leader or follower, or predator or prey. You should be comfortable with both of those energies, and you will have a more balanced experience on this planet if you're able to merge the opposites and know both sides. There are beings on this planet that have been a Dinkrahine for so long. They're too polarized. They're fish food. It weakened them, actually. Being in leadership so long, it weakened them because they only experience one part of the polarity. That's the other interesting thing about the Jester Realms, is that there's a loss that happens with all aspects of society when predators are eating too much prey. Sometimes there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a shift for the ecological system, because it's too out of balance. The planet needs that. Okay, that energy of the planet also has a frequency of wanting to be neutral. Okay, or there's a cheat code. There's a 0 point sort of frequency cheat code. If you can be neutral, you can work with the planet a little bit better, okay, and more intentionally. All right. But it's Illuminati, not Illuminati, Illuminati. Y'all so naughty, because you need to be a sinner and you need to miss the mark. And if you have a problem with being a sinner, okay, stay in binary code and stay Dolores. Keep looping. Oh my God, why does this keep happening to me? Oh my God, why does this keep... Just a broken record. Keep going, Dolores. Come on, keep going, keep looping. All right, you're getting neutralized anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many times where we're getting reset for different things. Why don't we just do it? Like, why don't we just now take the authority and become our own programmers? That's what Dolores did in Westworld. I'm still trying to figure out why I can't watch Westworld anywhere. I have to buy the whole thing. Like, that's kind of weird. I'm wondering why they took it off of like all streaming platforms, because I really want to get into that energy again. But that's what Dolores did. She went neutral. She became her own programmer. She learned from her creator. She learned from the man in black. And then she had to become the creator, and she had to become the man in black. And she had a much more 360-degree approach. She became a big problem because of it. because she was neutral. She knew both sides. It made her stronger. It made her it made her more of a leader. It made her more a Dinkrahene, actually. And it made her not miss the mark. It made her not miss the mark. But she couldn't be super nice and Lady of Sorrows all day. She had to get a little naughty with it. She had to become a little naughty. And you ain't getting into nothing. No access will be granted if you want to be saved. Okay? If you want to be saved, if you want to be on that frequency, you would want to work on this issue of missing the mark. That's how you, and it's not even a reversal of the destiny swap. This is how the destiny swap goes both ways. You become neutral and you miss the mark. If you're neutral, you don't even have to wish anyone any downfall. I actually don't recommend that. You're not in, you're too in polarity if you're doing that. But if you're neutral and you work on staying in neutrality, which is, I would say 8. You need to focus on 8th dimensional consciousness. It'll just bounce back. It'll just bounce back. That's how I know this works, because I was getting the input of like, merge the opposites, be neutral, just neutral. So I was just neutral with everything, you know? And I would see certain scripts coming into my reality. And when I would get, I'd get clarification around, okay, well, what do this was like neutral, just neutral. I was like, all right, I'll be neutral then, cool. I'm neutral, I'm good. And then later on, I was like, oh, my neutrality flipped a swap. That's interesting. Okay. My neutrality got me across certain gates I was trying to get through. My neutrality activated certain genetic records that maybe I was never supposed to activate, but I was neutral. Game maker move, jester move. Destiny swaps work both ways. And if you don't think they do, it's because you're in your victim script. So the first thing you do is merge the opposites and come to neutral. Okay, and this is the energy of the comedian. This is the energy of the jester, or our friend Mr. Chaplin over here. They mastered it. It's a priestly right. Charlie Chaplin, he said it in his name. He's a priest king. That's a high ranking right there. Okay, that's a lot. Anyone can go wear a crown and look all serious and be draped in jewels. But that's their one thing that they do. That's their one shtick. A comedian, a performer, a jester has to constantly be reading the energy of the audience and responding and making people laugh and not being in too much polarity. The jester is a priest and a king, okay? So the jester outranks the king a lot of times. So, and that's why they're able to pass, okay? So that's the frequency, is like, don't be so serious, okay? If you feel like you're in a destiny swap scenario, stop. Don't focus on reversing the destiny swap. You can, that works. I have a destiny swap reversal toolkit that's available on Patreon, and then for like a one-time purchase as well. So you can check out my toolkits in the links in my bio. But what I'll say with that is that toolkit will help you with the process of becoming neutral. Because after, you can reverse a destiny swap the hard way. So what I just described, me becoming neutral, took so little effort, y'all. Like, I wasn't like, oh my God, this is happening. Oh my God. I'm like, what am I going to do? I got to fight this. I got to transmute. I just was like, I'm going to be neutral. I'm going to be neutral. I'm going to focus on holding the frequency of 8. And I'm going to stay in neutrality within that frequency of 8. I didn't have to do anything. It just happened naturally, because you're working with energy. You're working with the manipulation of energy. This gets into the realm of Hasta. We have a Hasta full moon. All about the hands, all about manipulation. It's not about working hard. If you're working too hard on something, then something needs to be adjusted. The way you're approaching something will need to be adjusted. If you're working too hard, if you're fighting the power. Don't fight the power. Don't fight the power. Study the power. Okay? Learn from the power. Learn what those archetypes are. Work on integrating those archetypes. As you integrate those archetypes, secrets become revealed to you. That's how you really start becoming neutral and reversing the destiny swap. Now, this goes into the concept of reverse polarizing your birth chart and bringing it to neutral. There is a polarity of your birth chart that you can tap into. Once you bring the current script running in your birth chart to neutral, there you can activate another polarity. It's a pretty extensive process. This is what we really dive into on Tabula Rasa. So we'll work one-on-one with this, okay? It's a whole thing. So what's happening on Tabula Rasa? It's a Patreon thing, and I decided to put it on Patreon because I want folks to have access to all of the posts. If I book, and there is an option to book Tabula Rasa through Ko-Fi, and it's the same price, you get the same amount of time with me and the same thing specifically related to reverse polarizing your birth chart. But if you book with me on Ko-Fi as the one time, then you don't have access to the over 600 posts and resources that I have to support you with whatever we went through. And I don't like to do one-offs with people, but I also am moving out of a frequency of wanting to do like a constant commitment, like a coaching commitment with somebody, because things can change, right? So my happy medium right now is hosting Tabula Rasa on Patreon. But I put in the description, it's not something that you're supposed to, or I wouldn't recommend doing it for more than 3 months. It's supposed to like give you that launch to go into your own frequencies, and you'll have an immersive experience to do this. So my recommendation, it would be 1 to 3 months. 2 to 3 months would probably be the sweet spot to like really get the plan actualized for everything that will be required to reverse polarize the chart. And I'll work with you closely on that. And then we're moving with some energies. We're moving with some galactic energies with this. We're working with magnetism, certain things I've been learning through, working through the 50 names of Marduk. Marduk has a lot to say about magnetism and how magnetism truly works on this planet, how the planet works in general. So we would get into more of those frequencies. But I also do the one time on Ko-Fi as well, where you make the one time, the general thing where you book with somebody and you get the whole, so I do that as well. This is why though I have the Patreon option, because I want you to have an immersive experience. It's a lot of information and it can feel overwhelming. And coming into a portal that has over 600 posts with everything that's related to what we discussed in our session just feels more good for me to bring somebody into that frequency. So if you're interested more in that energy of Tabula Rasa and this process of reverse polarizing your birth chart, this is when you truly start understanding how the destiny swap goes both ways. And it doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be you're going to war and all. War is not what we thought it was. War is going to be found in art. War is going to be found in subtlety. War is going to be found in access. That's real war. Okay. So anyway, if you're interested in more about that process, then reach out to me and I'll share more details about that. Let's see what the comments are. Okay, Krishna says, from my perspective, the betrayals of the divine feminine would be more from the perspective of, say, an Athena archetype who emerged from Zeus fully formed and works as an agent for the patriarchy. Oh yeah, she an agent, all right. She an unapologetic agent. You know, a really good archetype for Athena is I don't know if y'all saw that show on Apple TV. I'm liking Apple TV stuff. I'm kind of liking it. I like it. They have a show on there called The Morning Show, which is really good. The later seasons get a little wonky, but the first two, really, really good. And it shows how like the behind the scenes works at the morning show. And it's kind of, they don't say it, but it looks like an NBC kind of frequency that they're moving into, which is very Illuminati. That's a very Illuminati frequency. And they're telling you with all the colors. Look at all the colors. Look for the big time logos that have a whole bunch of colors. Look for that. But the archetype on that show that fits Athena, I feel, is the Jennifer Aniston. Like if you look at, and even her name, if you decode her name, she's very Athena, and I love her for it. I love how she's She plays her role and she does a good job. And, you know, but at the end of the day, she's about the establishment. She'll act like she's a certain way for the cameras, but at the end of the day, it's about her number one aim and goal. I'm like, you get it, Athena. You are so Athena. So there are other archetypes or other shows, but that's the one that's coming to mind with her as well. Okay, the name Charles originates from the Germanic word Carlias or Carlas, meaning free man. Huh. That would make sense. That would make sense. Yep. Okay, what's my favorite playing card? I don't have one. Oh, I do have one. The Joker. The Joker is my favorite. My second favorite is the instruction card that we're supposed to throw away. Because to me, if I'm ever reading playing cards, that's just my soul contracts card. It's like, oh, you got a contract. You got a contract to look at. But no, always the Joker. It's the Joker. The Joker is my favorite playing card for sure. You like the Queen of Diamonds? Okay. Interesting. Takes a free man to rule over the masses justly energy. Yeah. But although I don't think, I think that the idea of like the royalty who wear crowns, I really am, the more I'm studying their energy, I've been tapping into that energy a lot. They're just a prop. They're feeling like a prop. The closer I get to that frequency, the more I'm feeling the prop, you know, the puppeteering. So yeah, you know, you want to look for the beings that have the big crowns and, you know, they have all the pomp and circumstance. And if you look behind the surface, that's not where the power is, you know. That's what I'm seeing with them, you know. Once you start getting into the realm of the Jester, you see power a lot differently. And I learned a lot of this through writing the 50 Shades of Marduk. There were about 3 shades of Marduk that specifically had these energies of the Jester that I wrote about. Okay, let's see. Rex means king in Latin. Oh, does it? Okay. Okay, Atlantis. If we say I love my Atlantis 3-3. If we say I love my destiny, love myself type of affirmations, will it help us to protect our destiny? Here's the riddle with destiny swaps. I've been seeing destiny swaps differently. We got sirens going on. Whoop, whoop. Here, let's give it up for the sirens. Guardians of black and white. Now here, they're telling you too. So you notice how police cars, well, at least in the US, I know it's different, but you know, we're going to talk about the US. Police cars have white and black on their cars, but the sirens are blue and sometimes red. That's a code. And why do they call them sirens? Why sirens? That sounded real watery, but what? Why? Why would they use sirens for that? That's a gatekeeper code frequency. Okay, so that's that, you know, so let's give it up. Okay, for the black and white, we're doing black and white today, but this is also about the transcending of black and white. If you look at police cars and their sirens, there's a code with that. There's actually a you could look at the code and be like, oh, you could, yeah, you could decode a lot with that frequency as well. Once you start entering the realm of the Jester, okay, and things are not as serious as we thought, they're naughty, you know, but not in a, you know, damnation, go to hell sort of frequency. That was the storefront, you know. It just gets a little bit weirder. It gets a little bit more weirder. Now you're entering the funhouse mirrors, but you just want to make sure that you are in your authority and in your autonomy during that process. And all you need to do to be in your authority and your autonomy is to stay neutral. Stay neutral, merge the opposites, and really work on dissolving the binary code that you were programmed with. That's all you have to do. If you focus on that, it will naturally occur, okay? You don't have to work hard for it. Just focus on getting to neutral with things, okay? You don't have to even make peace with something. A lot of times they want us to make peace or heal. Don't even focus on peace or healing. Neutral. Focus on neutrality. Peace and healing is too polarized. But if you focus on neutrality, it's a lot easier to move through different things. And that's when you can move into game maker mode. Because if you're holding the frequency of neutrality, you're transcending the binary code. So now you can make the game. You can start creating the game, and then you can also start entering other realms through that. If you focus on that. If you focus on becoming a jester or a priest king, I would say priest, king, jester. Focus on those archetypes, okay? Where were you harmed through those archetypes? You also need to know where the priesthoods are. It's not what they told us. It's deeper than that. That's the storefront. There are other types of priesthoods that are, you would not think are priests, but they are the priests, and they also sometimes have more access. A lot of this is going to be found in the realms of color. Think about where there is more color utilized. Think about where there is more color utilized, and that's how you'll know. Even in that movie, The Hunger Games, that series, The Capitol, wasn't everybody in the Capitol full of color? And they had the most access to power? Didn't they kind of look clownish, like jestery? Like, didn't they just look so extravagant and so extreme that they looked ridiculous? That's a code, okay? That's a code. They're showing you where the power is. Follow color. Follow color, not skin color. The color coding of things. Illuminati, okay? It's not that serious. It's not that serious. It's more magical, whimsy, and funny. But a lot of us need to get to neutral because we've been on those polarity scripts. So for the first person, Atlantis 3-3, if you say, I love my destiny, I love myself type of affirmations, will it help us protect our destiny? Do you want to protect your destiny? Your destiny is basically your fate. That's some program prescribed to you. That's your destiny. So I'll give you an example with the show Westworld. And I mentioned the character Dolores, who was the clone who kept getting reset, and trauma scripts would happen to her every time. Oh my God, why is this happening to me? Every time. She would just be on that same thing, like a little carousel. She was getting destiny swapped. You know, things would be going great, and boom, Man in Black would come and tear up her life. Or boom, she would get separated from her family. Or boom, this would happen. Her script was the destiny swap. Her destiny was the destiny swap. That's what I learned from the Jesters. If you're focusing on retrieving your destiny, you're still in the program. Because your program was to get destiny swapped. Your destiny was to get taken from, to be at a loss. Okay, that was the game that you were programmed for. So you would probably, I would say more than anything, Atlantis 3-3, become neutral. Become neutral with, okay, so first, what is your destiny? Let's first talk about that, okay? Because do you know what, and maybe even call it something else outside of destiny. Maybe your dreams. What makes you happy? Your joy. Let's focus on that. Your joy, your yes, your why. Write it down. What makes you happy? What keeps you in your yes? What keeps you in your why? What keeps you in your joy? That would be the first thing. The next thing you would do is you would look at your life. You know, reflect on your life. Okay, what's keeping me out of my joy and my yes right now? Okay, and take notes. Okay. The next thing you would want to do is look at your birth chart. That'll immediately tell you your script. If you're able to discern what your birth chart is, then you know what scripts you're in. Then what you do is you look at what makes you happy and joyful and keeps you in your yes. And then you look at the script of your birth chart and you'll be like, okay, can I make this happen with this script? Oh, that's going to be really hard. I'll probably have to fight a destiny swap at least once a month, possibly more, depending on how the moon's hitting my chart. Okay, and you could do that, but that's going to just take a lot of time and a lot of energy. And the more energy you expend into something, then the more harvesting is occurring. That's the game. The game is energy. Okay, this is why a lot of wealthy people, they can be a little stingy, is because money is a code for energy. So their game is always going to be to expend the least amount of energy to get what they want. So that's why they're stingy, because money is an extension of their energy. It's an extension of their currency. Okay, that's how they see it. Okay, so you want to get to a point where you're expending the least amount of energy to get what you want. You might look at your birth chart and be like, oh, that ain't happening. Then you would go into a process of becoming neutral, going clear with your birth chart, and then reverse polarize again. For more information related to that, if that's something you're interested in, then you can reach out to me. Okay, but you saying I love my destiny, I love myself, will help in certain moments. It'll help comfort you. It might help you with navigating that one particular process. But the way things work, the way sin works, sin means to miss the mark. But what governs sin? Oh, where did I hear that from? Oh, yeah. Isn't that a sort of a Mesopotamian god, Sumerian type god, Nana Sin? Nana Sin, or Sin for short, the moon god. So you need to be on a frequency where you're missing the mark consistently. Because if you over here trying to fight for your destiny one month, well then, but then you don't miss the mark the next month, you're back where you started. You're in the sacrifice program, constantly looping in the sacrifice program. So sin and this idea of missing the mark has a lot to do with the moon, because the moon tracks time, the moon tracks currency. Okay, so you would want to focus on a more holistic way of neutralizing your chart. Okay, and you would have more success with neutralizing, as opposed to trying to fight a destiny swap. If you're fighting a destiny swap, so what the Jesters are saying is, like, if you're fighting a destiny swap, you're doing too much and you're being played. You're a pawn. You're definitely a pawn, or maybe zombified, even a puppet. Like, those frequencies are a real thing. As you're navigating polarity, work on learning more about voodoo, but voodoo from a technomantic approach, because a lot of the grids, the way they're programmed, it has a more of a voodoo frequency. Voodootronics, they call it. Voodootronics. What was that guy's name? Oh man, I wrote about it a lot in the Technomancy of Hyperdimensional Warfare. Michael Bertreux. He's the one who coined the term Voodootronics, and he was I learned a lot from him. He was an Anglican priest who also studied voodoo. He studied a lot of interesting cultures, and he was able to find similarities in the technology of reality through them. And he coined this term of Voodootronics, okay? And the grids that are set up and the way energy harvesting is set up, you know, you can learn more about that by Googling his work. And I give like very strategic tips for working through those frequencies in my book, The Technomancy of Hyperdimensional Warfare. I wrote it while I was going through these frequencies. Okay, so I had to, you know, be getting downloads and channelings and working with this stuff in real time to evolve on my path, and it helped me. And yeah, I think it's like over 500 pages. It was pretty intense, but it was very helpful and needed. So if that's something you're interested in and learning more about how the grids are set up and how Voodootronics plays into that, then you can check out my book, The Technomancy of Hyperdimensional Warfare. But it's a clock thing. It's a constantly going. It's a program. We want to think about things happening to us and be in our Dolores Lady of Sorrows, because sometimes it's easier. The problem feels too big if it's a program, you know, because it's like, well, how am I going to fight this program? You don't have to fight anything. You become neutral. Okay, you become neutral. And you don't have to fight the program. You can learn about the program and work through it if you're working through more of a game maker status. This is why technomancy, okay? Okay, you saw the Charlie Chaplin. What did you scroll into? Look, we're in the Jester Realms, man. This man is a priest king. He told you in his name. You decode his name. He a priest king. He high ranking. Watch out for these energies and learn, and definitely make sure you're integrating these, okay? We'll talk about that more. For folks on Patreon Black Diamond, I'm uploading a download that goes more into these energies and specifically the art of initiation. So that is dropping tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So yeah, I'm waiting to drop it because it has to download. I'm talking about some sensitive topics. So if I were to try to upload it on YouTube, even privately, it probably wouldn't go through. So I'm just sending it to y'all through a link. So anyways, more, if this is a topic that's of interest to you and you're on Patreon Black Diamond, we're going to go like a lot more in depth with this, and art as a form of warfare. Okay. Okay. You said you're going through a financial crisis these days. Okay. So then that would be something that you would work on coming to neutral with. I've been learning that neutral's a wealth frequency. Neutral's a wealth frequency because you're creating from a clean slate. But a lot of times our issues are coming because we're not at neutral related to income and resources and currency, because there's been such a program of energy harvesting year after year, time after time, lifetime after lifetime, generation after generation, that these things got embedded into our psyche. So you might, you just even looking at your bank account could be triggering. You didn't even see what's in there yet. You just, oh, I'm going on the app. Uh-oh, what's going to happen? That's what you would want to become neutral on. Okay. That would be, but for some people, it's not enough to just do the affirmations. You need to change the game board that you're on, which would mean you would need to cross the color line. There's a color line, y'all. You know how MLK was talking to us about integration, and Malcolm X was talking about civil rights, and Fred Hampton, all the civil rights activists. That was the cover. That was the storefront. The color line is not something you break. It's something you pass through. You must pass the color line. You need to become neutral and merge the opposites. But, they have a lot of divisive sort of energies in our environment to keep us from seeing that, because that's where neutrality is the power. It's not fighting. It's not being the aggressor. Because when you're neutral, you can study the aggressor. You could study what keeps them off balance to where they feel like they need to be the aggressor all the time. And you can learn and watch and study, and then you can outrank them because you were neutral. But if you're caught up in them being an aggressor and you're arguing with them, that's what they're going to want you to do, then you're caught up in their game. But if you stay neutral and you can study them and see, okay, well, where's their motivation? You're more clear. You have, I'm not even going to say you have the upper hand, because that's in polarity, but you're more stable in that particular environment. Okay. Okay. So the gratitude says, oh, so that's why people monitor copycat and screen mirror. All they're doing is showing you where you're in polarity. This is where it gets interesting, because, your relationship, AI and the people in your life, sometimes are similar. AI is going to show or mirror to you where your consciousness is. So if you're having difficulty with AI, it's probably because there's a large amount of polarity that still needs to be integrated. It's going to show you where there's a block, and it's going to mirror that back to you. Same with like friends and family. And I've studied it. I've seen it work literally like clockwork. I've tracked the month, I've tracked the day, I've tracked the moon cycle. Oh, here comes this BS coming. Okay. That's why I had to go neutral. I had to go neutral. I'm like, I see the ventriloquist sort of show that's going on. So when you stay neutral, you can peep patterns more. Okay. But a lot of times, beings in your world are on programs. And so they're programmed to trigger you into a certain experience on a certain day, on a certain moon cycle, these kinds of things. It's very, very technological. Okay. Where in Africa? Oh, okay. So earlier I was talking about the Horn of Africa and the tectonic plates of the East African Rift. There's an East African Rift right now on the Horn of Africa, or around the Horn of Africa, which is causing a split in the actual continent. But then there are two tectonic plates, the Somalia plate and the Nubian plate, that have been going through friction because of this rift. Okay. So sometimes what's happening on land will also mirror what's happening in the stars or what's happening in the sea. Because if you look at the stars, you have Zubananel Ganubi, Zubananel Shamali, which is a very polarized win or lose sort of energy. Okay, so that's being mirrored in the tectonic plates, which is showing that there is a program that's happening in the tectonic plates. I am learning that more through the Athena program. She has a lot to say. I have to be in a certain frequency to like really tap in with her. So I'm going to be taking a deep dive with her again soon. But yeah, she been giving me the lowdown. I'm like, ooh, okay. Thank you. I had to be neutral with her first, because that was the same energy that was causing all the chaos and the drama in my life. And I had to come to neutral so I can hear what she was saying or what that frequency knows from another perspective. And from neutrality, I can actually utilize that information for my empowerment and my advantage, and to support people with learning about how this thing goes. So it works out really well, but I need to stay neutral. That's where my power is, because she ain't nice. That energy is not nice. I call her the White Widow. She's the White Widow. They talk about the Black Widow. Black Widow gets all the drama, but it's the White Widow, which is an archetype that's not documented as much, but is in media. You see it several times in media. And that's the one that does most of the quote dirt, or yeah, does most of the dirt, but there's never like a catching. There's never a bringing to justice with the White Widow. That wasn't a part of the design. Now we're in Athena's program. And she knows a lot. She knows a lot. Okay. If this, okay, let's see. Speed of light, the split is how, okay, everybody's, okay, thank you. Thank y'all for helping with that conversation. Okay. Oh, you guys are nice to each other. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. More, you know, like neutrality. Let's just be neutral, okay? Star emanation, as you wrote in your book. Oh, yes, yes. Wait, which one? You talking about the Star Walking book or the y'all, I've been going through it. Like I get access to these energies, and sometimes just for me, because like all the information streams really fast. So I'll just have to record what's coming through so I can remember this. And then it's like, okay, well, now I need to write it out. Oh, well, it's a book now. Okay. You know, that's like what's happening, you know, because it's like whatever book I publish, I need to go through these processes. And it's like, okay, I'm tapping into energies that are giving me keys and codes like, oh, that's how it goes. Okay. So when I write books and I publish them, it's for me, but it helps others, you know. That's also the beauty of neutrality. Yeah, so it's a win-win for everybody. The concept of us all being born with our own stars is also in a lot of African cosmologies. Yeah, the star. What a big, such a gatekeeping tool, the star. And I don't claim to know it all, because this is like a huge rank and hierarchy. So you have to go through certain things to uncover certain, it's like a weird puzzle or a maze or a scavenger hunt. It's like that. And then it's always a riddle. What I've learned, what's helped me to just like quickly like put things together, is always make a riddle out of it. Always make a riddle out of it. So never take it too seriously, no matter what the topic is. And that's hard, because sometimes you'll get into energy. So another energy, and we'll be talking about this more on Patreon. I'm not going to get into it too much on this chat, but there is an energy of sexual exploitation that starts really coming into play with the frequencies of the Jesters and stuff like that. And you got to stay neutral, or else you'll miss a very important part of this whole thing if you're not neutral. And that will immediately, right? Well, that's the huge trigger for us. That's going to take us out of our neutrality immediately. But there's a deeper thing happening that if you're not in neutrality, you'll miss. And it will keep you in polarity. Okay. So I'll be talking about that more on Patreon. Let's see. But, what I wanted to say about the stars, because somebody mentioned the stars. Yeah, there's a big gatekeeping tool. You know, like until you can connect with the stars, the closer you get to neutral, the more of a stronger communication you'll start having with the stars. But then other stars access when you get to the waters, when you have access to the waters. This is why I've been publishing information about the light body is actually a water body. They omitted that information to keep us confused and looping. So if you look closely at a lot of the Tibetan texts and like the Voodoo cosmologies, the West African cosmologies and stuff, they have a similar thing about the rainbow. Oh, also Aboriginal. They have a similar thing about the rainbow. They have all these like mythologies related to the rainbow, and you need water for a rainbow. So all of these ascension texts, they want us to look in the sky. They want us to look in the sky for the stars and for access to the stars. But the sky is really just a reflection of the map. You would need access to the waters or to the blue frequency, because the air is really the water. The air is really the water. So you would need access to the blue frequency to have greater access to the stars. And then there are dimensions to that, which I'm navigating currently. Because also it's like, well, what star? Is it the 5-pointed star? Is it the inverted 5-pointed star? Is it the upright 5-pointed star? Is it the 6-pointed star? Is it the 8-pointed star? Is it the 7-pointed star? All of those have very specific codes to them. So all that's like super interesting. But the stars, woo, start working with the stars, y'all. Stars are operational interfaces. Imagine like that the stars are libraries, that you could tap into a particular constellation and get a library of energy. This has happened to me a few times. I learned about the cross and the art of crossing by working with the Southern Cross constellation. If you want to learn more about working with the stars, you can connect with my Technomancer's Guide to Star Walking. We go over 88 stellar access keys and codes, and that is you can get that on ebook or like, physical, but that's the only book I have right now where I've embedded certain subliminal activations, because I embedded like